evening, everybody. Welcome to Bellevue City Council regular meeting for June 24th, 2025. Can we have the roll call, please? Oh, I should say, Councilmember Bhargava is remote tonight. He's not feeling well. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Mayor Robinson?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Malakutian?
Here.
Councilmember Bhargava?
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Here.
Councilmember Lee?
Here.
Councilmember Neuenhouse?
Here.
And Councilmember Sumadoria?
Here. So, Deputy Mayor, would you lead us in the flag salute, please?
Please rise. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pride Month and accepted by Stephanie Walsh, who is a mother of a kindering child. And then we have the Parks and Recreation Month proclamation read by Councilmember Hamilton and accepted by Tony Esparza, the Assistant Director, City of Bellevue Parks and Community Services. So can I ask Stephanie Walsh to come on up and come to the dais, and whomever you want to bring with you, and we'll have Councilmember Lee start with the proclamation, and when we're done with the two procs, we will come down and do pictures with everybody. Okay, go ahead, Councilmember
Thank you,
Lee.
Madam Mayor. It's my pleasure to read the proclamation. Whereas the City of Bellevue celebrates the 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, signed into law on July 26, 1990, as a landmark civil rights law that prohibits discrimination based on disability. And whereas we honor the efforts of disability advocates and activists whose leadership led to the passage of the ADA, establishing a clear and comprehensive national mandate to eliminate discrimination and ensure equal opportunity for people with disability. And whereas we recognize the valuable contributions of people with disabilities in every aspect of civil life, including in our schools, workplaces, neighborhoods, and government, and we are committed to ensuring Bellevue's programs, services, activities, and facilities remain accessible and inclusive to all. And whereas people with disabilities take pride in their identity and continue to build community and culture, yet many in this community still experience disproportionate impacts on their health, social connection, and economic opportunity. And whereas the City of Bellevue works in partnership with organizations, advocates, and community members to advance the promise of the ADA through inclusive planning, community engagement, and equitable access to public services. And whereas Bellevue invests in ADA strategic planning and to strengthen disability equality and equity across city departments, focusing on compliance, training, and citywide efforts to remove barriers and deliver services that meet the needs of all employees and community members. And whereas the City of Bellevue proudly promotes the nationally recognized Disability Pride flag, designed by Anne McGill, and affirms the power of its symbolism to represent resilience, visibility, and unity within the disability community. Now, therefore, I, Conrad Lee, on behalf of Lynn Robertson, Mayor of the City of Bellevue, Washington, and on behalf of its City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2025 as Disability Pride Month in celebration of the 35th anniversary of the American with Disability Act. We encourage all Bellevue community members to honor the ongoing work of disability advocates, uplift the voices and talents of people with disabilities, and join us in creating a more inclusive, accessible community for everyone. Signed, Lynn Robertson, Mayor, City of Bellevue.
Thank you, Councilmember Lee. Welcome.
Thank you. On behalf of the tens of thousands of parents and caregivers of children and youth and family members with disability in our city, I cannot thank you enough for this recognition and this proclamation today. As any of us that have children, whether you're in the sticky, loud version of parenting of toddlers that I am, or had graduation parties for your teenagers who are going out into the world, you know that the feelings of isolation, of being overwhelmed, of really wishing that these kids came with user manuals is a feeling that all of us as parents can identify with. And when you're put on the unexpected journey of navigating having a child with disabilities, those feelings of isolation, those feelings of being overwhelmed, just manifold in immense ways. I have a 3-year-old, almost 4-year-old, named Maisie. She was born at 25 weeks. She was 1 pound, 1 ounce, very smaller than this computer when she was born. And she had many, many different types of developmental delays and needed services. The primary place that we received services for her disabilities was through Kindring, who I'm joined with today. Kindring is a nonprofit, if you're not familiar, that serves thousands of children with disabilities throughout the county, throughout the state, and are headquartered right here in Bellevue. And at Kindring, we were able to find a community where our children like Maisie, were not just accepted, but were valued and celebrated. And a proclamation like this today really signals to us as parents, as families, that beyond just these miracle workers of service, people like Kindring and people like them, that it's our community as well that is celebrating and valuing, not just accepting our children and our beloved family members. And having an entire month set aside like Disability Pride Month just means the world to us. This is such important visibility, and it just shows us again as parents that our entire community recognizes that our children and our beloved family members deserve to be valued and accepted and celebrated. So thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for this time.
Great, thank you. Did you want to speak too?
Yes, and I'll be super brief. So Mayor Robinson and council members, I just want to thank you so much on behalf of Kindring staff and board members. As an organization that serves so many kids with disabilities, it's so important for us that this community is a place where they can grow up and know that they are accepted and included. And that's what this means to me. And I also feel that it is so special that Stephanie was able to join us. I have had the pleasure of meeting her beautiful family, including little tiny Maisie, who's not so little anymore, and who is thriving and just blows me away. So thank you so much for creating this moment for us.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and City Council members. Thank you very much. My name is Sharon Sini. I'm the ADA Title VI Equal Opportunity Officer. It's my pleasure to be here. And thank you so much, and happy Disability Pride Month.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Have a seat, and then we'll call you up for a picture. Okay, next up, we have the Parks and Recreation Month given by Councilmember Hamilton. And Tony, thanks for coming up here and speaking to us after. Go ahead, Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas parks and recreation programs are essential to the quality of life in Bellevue, helping to create a healthy, connected, and thriving community for people of all ages and backgrounds, and whereas parks and recreation opportunities support individual well-being by promoting active lifestyles, reducing stress, preventing chronic disease, and improving mental and emotional health, and whereas Bellevue's programs serve people of all abilities, offering recreation, social engagement, and a full participation in the life of the community, and whereas parks and recreation programs contribute to Bellevue's economic vitality by enhancing property values, attracting and retaining businesses, supporting tourism, and fostering safe, vibrant neighborhoods, and whereas our parks, trails, and natural areas protect the environmental health of Bellevue by improving air and water quality, managing stormwater, preserving open space, and providing vital habitat for wildlife. And whereas, as a city and a park, Bellevue honors the role of parks and recreation in strengthening neighborhoods, building civic pride, and enhancing our shared sense of place. Now, therefore, I, Dave Hamilton, on behalf of Lynn Robinson, Mayor of the City of Bellevue, Washington, and on behalf of its City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2025 as Parks and Recreation Month in Bellevue, Washington, and encourage all community members to explore, celebrate, and support the many benefits of our parks, trails, natural areas, and recreation programs bring to everyday life.
Thank you so much. Hi, Tony.
Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members, as we enter the busiest season for the Parks and Recreation work of our department, we appreciate the council's acknowledgement and support. This summer brings a flurry of activity to our parks, our trails, open spaces with thousands of residents on our sports fields and beaches, in our day camps, and at our special events. Year-round, the Parks and Community Service Department advances the vision of a city where everyone can connect to each other and to nature through experiences that help them to live, grow, and thrive. Our work builds a healthy community through an integrated system of exceptional parks, natural areas, recreation, arts and culture, and a broad base of community services. We work to acknowledge and remove disparities in opportunities, power, and resources so that everyone can reach their full potential to thrive. We are honored to be a part of a city and a park, meeting the diverse needs of our community, and we thank you for your support.
Thank you so much. Can we do a picture with you, Tony? All right. If you have any staff you want to bring up with you, you can invite them. Okay, so before we approve the agenda, we need to amend it to add a consideration of an appeal that was filed by Alex Zimmerman in response to a notice of exclusion that I issued on June 16th. Do I have a motion to amend and approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda amended to add one item under council business to consider Alex Zimmerman's appeal of the notice of exclusion issued by the mayor on June 16th.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we have oral communications now. City Clerk, do we have anybody signed up?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, there are, 13 pre-registered speakers this evening. So before I start calling names, I'll go over a few of the rules that the council has in place. So oral communications is for a period of no more than 30 minutes, and all topics must relate to City of Bellevue government. People speaking to items on tonight's agenda will be called first, and then if time remains, people speaking to items not on tonight's agenda will be called. In both of those categories, the presiding officer is authorized to give preference to those who have not spoken to council within the last 60 days or who will be speaking on items that will come in front of the council within the next 60 days. Each speaker is allowed up to 3 minutes to speak, and only 3 speakers are allowed to speak to any one side of a particular topic. And I also want to remind folks that in compliance with Washington State campaign laws, the use of public facilities during elections, that no speaker may support or oppose a ballot measure or support or oppose a campaign, including one's own campaign for election. And if anyone begins speaking on those topics, they will be asked to stop. So with that, I'll call our first speaker, who is Ryan Gillis.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of, I think, all builders. I'm heavily involved with the Master Builders Association, and I've taken a lot of time and effort to speak at the BDC and a lot of the other councils in relation to the middle housing codes that have been going around. And I wanted to speak on behalf of what the city of Bellevue is proposing right now in relation to the size of the units. I sent in a testimony via email yesterday, and I'd like to just read that off for the record. I know that in relation to this middle housing discussion that we're having today and what has been ongoing, it's a very complicated and delicate balance as you look at the different options for implementation in past conversations. The current economic conditions are not favorable for builders, and it is not getting any easier, or I do not see that on the horizon. With that said, I know you've been hearing a lot from different builders and developers about preferences, and I'd like to provide a little bit of context about what the market is telling us in general about these middle housing type projects, as we are heavily focused on acquiring and selling these middle housing projects in Seattle and Kirkland, where it's been allowed prior to the state mandate of 1110 and 1337. The market is telling us that what buyers really want are at least 3 bedrooms. They want 2-story homes over 3-story. Detached is much more preferred than attached. At least a 1-car garage, private yards, and additional guest parking and flexibility for those parking for guests and or residents. That being said, I know that that's a lot to request, but that's what the buyers are telling us. And I think that builders, as they look at new projects, are going to think about that as they look at how they're planning to build these new projects. All of this leads back to the cottage code, and what we've seen is that that is a much more preferable product on the east side compared to the Seattle size type projects of single families, ADUs and DADUs in Kirkland. The code that came out as a draft on May 13th, the middle housing code I thought was really good, where it allowed for 1,750 square foot with a 1,300 square foot exempt garage. And that's very comparable to what we're seeing in Kirkland and Redmond, which is a very desirable product. Limiting the cottages to a maximum of 1,500 square feet does not provide the market what they really want. And as we look at building different types of units, what the market really is saying from a buyer's perspective, as we look at all different types of buyers and their needs, is that if you have a master on the main floor and you're limited to 1,500 square feet, and that's a 2-story product, you really can't fit a good living, kitchen, dining, and a master on the main on that first floor. Lastly, as I know I'm running out of time, I just wanted to speak to the height. You can't really get 2 stories with 24 feet in height, and to go to 28
Mr.
would be more
Gillis.
preferable.
Sorry,
Thank
your
you.
time has expired. The next speaker is Kyle Sullivan.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Hopefully you saw my email from the last time this came up to council. I'd like to read you 3 parts of the introduction to HB 1110, which passed 2 years ago with support of 5 of Bellevue's 6 state elected officials at the time. Quote, "There is continued need for the development of housing at all income levels, including middle housing that will provide a wider variety of housing options and configurations to allow Washingtonians to live near where they work. Quote, homes developed at higher densities are more affordable by design for Washington residents, both in their construction and reduced household energy and transportation costs. Quote, In addition to addressing the housing shortage, allowing more housing options in areas already served by urban infrastructure will reduce the pressure to develop natural and working lands, support key strategies for climate change, food security, and Puget Sound recovery, and save taxpayers and ratepayers money. People have to live somewhere, and Bellevue is an employment hub. If you want less traffic, you should want people to be able to live closer to work. When many people do, it's easier to provide alternatives to driving, freeing up capacity for everyone else. Since that hasn't happened in so many neighborhoods, new subdivisions are built further and further out and into neighboring counties, paving over undeveloped land so we can all sit in traffic together. I've heard concerns about big buildings suddenly going up. Well, the height limits are pretty much the same as what already exists, and there are many other constraints on size. I think we've all seen how big people can already build today. Taking this development allowance and portioning it into smaller, more affordable units is a good thing. Simply put, people are priced out of most neighborhoods, not just randos who want to move to the city. We're talking about people who work here. We're talking about the next generation that grew up here, like my peers. And even many people who bought a home in years past couldn't afford to do the same thing today. Middle housing can also allow people to downsize without having to leave their neighborhood. With this in mind, I have one main ask. Please restore the Planning Commission's recommendation of allowing 6 housing units per lot within half a mile of major transit stops. The quarter-mile radius applies to a tiny amount of properties in the city, and I was surprised to see this decision, despite hearing several comments on the dais in support of development near transit and the option to live car-free. It's in everyone's interest to build where people can access transit and encourage transit use. Transit can serve accessibility needs, is more sustainable, and is much cheaper than owning and maintaining a car. I hope that Bellevue will continue to support and advance housing options that are more affordable and sustainable throughout the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jonathan Kurth.
Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing us to speak this evening. I've had a chance to speak on the phone with a number of you guys, and I'm very much pleased with seeing you guys last week work through a lot of the issues. And one of the big issues I won't discuss because Ryan did a great job of discussing what is needed to make affordable, attainable, small homes, cottage housing type, attainable for our residents. I grew up here. I went to BCC. Studied urban planning, and I've done cottages for the last 10 years in Seattle. I've had them featured on HGTV. My last project in Olsen Kundig, Drafter, tried to buy one of them. And I want to do this in Bellevue. And right now we can do dadus, but the small homes is what our buyers need. And to have a small home that works needs to have 3 bedrooms on 1 floor. And to achieve that, we cannot do that in 1,500 square feet. We do not want to build 3 stories. We want to build 2 stories. 3 stories is a townhouse. People do not want to live in townhouses right now. When they have children, they do not want to have children on different floors. So, and also 1,500 square feet, we cannot pencil it at the high land costs in Bellevue. And so the additional 250 square feet allow us to be able to be successful at building. That's what we've been doing in the other jurisdictions that have done it for multiple years, and it has worked. I agree that we do not need to have 3 stories. We don't want to do that. And I was very excited when Conrad brought up at the last meeting to the council a motion to discuss it further. And the mayor said, yes, let's discuss it at the next meeting. And so I would like to allow you guys to discuss 2 stories, 1,750 square feet. I've signed up to do this as an amendment to that. And if you guys delay this for 3 years, we will not be building these 1,500 square foot homes because it doesn't pencil and we can't put 3 bedrooms up on 1 floor. And so I would love for you guys to have the discussion about it. I understand it might open up a can of worms for other items, and I get that. And I'm not in politics, and so I just would love that you guys would honor what you guys said at the last meeting and have a discussion about this and bring that motion to allow us the opportunity to let us participate with you guys. And Veronica with the MBA has worked on this for over 6 months trying to achieve this. And it's unfortunate it's at the last hour, but it is what it is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is, go ahead.
For a moment, I picked up 3 people opposed to the proposed ordinance, so that's 3. Even though they signed up in favor, they're actually opposed.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to ask folks before they sit down and start speaking whether or not you're in support or opposition.
Of the proposed ordinance.
Yes. So we do have 3 additional speakers who have signed up for opposition. As the mayor just stated, we just heard from 3 that were having some modifications of the proposal, so we would consider those opposition or showing concerns. So Howard Liu is the next speaker. I'd ask, are you going to make comments in support or in opposition?
Of what's proposed?
I'm neutral.
No, I think you're wanting a change.
Okay, so if there's things that needs to change, that's an opposed?
That would be an opposition to
Okay,
what's
so
been
we'll just
proposed.
sound that.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
The next speaker would be Ann Rittenhouse. Same question to you, ma'am.
And I'm not sure if I'm for or against this. I'm for you not voting for any mandates that go above the state. So is that for or against what you're doing?
That's a nuance because it's all over, so I'll let you speak to that.
Okay, thank you. So I spoke with you, Mayor Robinson, at the Eastgate Community Association picnic over the weekend. And I told you that I was mad about the way neighborhoods were being mistreated by you and certain members on the council. You said that you were looking for density balance and that I should go back and read the minutes and I would see that you had voted no on some issues. You also said that I should be mad at the legislators who passed these House bills because that is why the city is in this situation. After our conversation, I had a chance to reflect on your comments, and I realized 2 things. First, the House bills as written were already way out of balance. Although they did give the city the power to make any new structures have to comply with the same current standards for single-family homes, Bellevue staff has basically ignored this verbiage. You're not bringing balance to the situation by only voting against some of staff recommendations. Any vote in excess of state standards is a vote against the livability and vitality of Bellevue neighborhoods. Second, you as mayor of Bellevue, I think you knew that this legislation was happening years ago and didn't do anything to stop it or tone it down. Instead, you not only allowed it to go through without challenging it, but the city also turned around and started meeting with developers to write policies to help allow builders to capitalize on these changes, like we just heard they're trying to do. Residents were never informed that this legislation was passed. We were never brought into the conversation, and no policies have been written to protect us. Talk about an imbalance. Staff has been allowed to write egregious policies, and many of you, have voted yes on more of them than you have added no, adding to the imbalance. I may be mad at the legislators in Olympia who sponsored these ill-conceived bills, but I'm even more upset at you, my local elected officials, who are allowing the safeguards that were in these bills for local neighborhoods, for residential neighborhoods, to be stripped out of the current LUCA. The only way to have even a little balance is to vote no on any increases above the state mandates. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Ed Rittenhouse. I'd ask you the same question.
I will yield.
Thank you.
To next one, yeah.
Thank you. The final speaker signed up to speak in opposition or showing concern is Nicole Myers, but same question to you, ma'am.
Can you share if you're for or against the proposed ordinance?
I would like to speak about
community involvement in the decision-making process.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you so much, council members. I will admit this is not exactly what I intended to say tonight, but I did want to say that I really appreciated in the last few months getting to connect with more of our neighbors who have thoughts and concerns about this, have nuanced ideas about how this policy may be successful or affect them, many of whom, are interested in building ADUs or are interested in, potentially living in middle housing either soon or someday far into the future as they retire. I think this is something the community cares about. When we look back at the large response to the Missing Middle survey back in 2022, there were over 500 people responding. And I know that there are not 500 people in Bellevue right now who are aware of what's going on in what we're drafting. So, I'm sorry that I haven't been able to do more personally. I've done as much as I can. But I want to thank you for taking this seriously as something that's really important to our community. And I hope you will be open-minded to the options you have. And I also want to thank Mo in particular for his leadership in pushing us to improve our outreach process in the future and make sure that we're really thorough as we give our community a chance to weigh in on super important issues. I also want to thank Conrad for his work in trying to run down the what we really need and what the building community really wants, and trying to find an area of common agreement. And I feel like there hasn't really been enough time to work through that process as much as any of you and our council would have hoped to do. And I know that this may only be the first step. I hope you'll make decisions tonight that set us up for flexibility in the future. And I look forward to continuing the conversations, hopefully with a more engaged public as we move forward to the next issues beyond this. So thank you very much.
The next speaker on the list is Martin Seelig.
Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Deputy Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Martin A. Seelig, 3203, 165th Place Northeast, Bellevue, Washington, 98008. My wife Annis and I are 55-year residents of the city of Bellevue. City engineering wants to replace a sanitary sewer lifts pump station with a gravity-fed sewer. The city engineer who maintained the station has retired. The sewer easement would cross over our 7-acre site zoned O. For over 60 years, our family has owned the site, which is adjacent to and 60 feet below the East Trail and less than 1/2 mile from the South Kirkland Park and Ride. The sewer easement will reduce the amount of housing, especially affordable housing, that could be built under the proposed O zoning. Staff continues to oppose our proposal to implement zoning modifications for our site, get its gravity-fed sewer, and keep the same number, this is key, the same number of housing units as if the sewer were not built. No citizens have opposed our proposal. Our engineers are investigating buffer reduction from the slope to further increase housing. Staff threatens legal action. Our request to the council: please direct staff to meet with our team to accommodate the city's conflicting goals and refine our proposal. Zoning modifications do not, I say again, do not fall within the council's two prohibited actions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. City Manager, can you issue a response here about next steps?
Yes, Mr. Seelig, I'm happy to connect to the proper staff to engage in a conversation with you. Oh, sorry. Happy to connect you with the proper staff to have a conversation about the issue that you've raised tonight.
We've also tried to communicate with staff, and they oppose our proposal. That's why I'm here to make a presentation to the city council.
Thank you.
I appreciate your help. Any help, I appreciate.
The next speaker on the list is Timothy Siegel.
Yes, I made a public comment last year, and I think you see what it's about. I distributed some printed material about the use of gas-powered leaf blowers and weed whackers. And I'd like to start by just asking, perhaps the mayor, has anything happened since then?
So I'm going to let the city manager answer because I asked her the same question, and we have an answer.
I believe that the leaf blower issue is on the land use planning initiative work program. I do not believe that has been started yet. I think that is a future year item.
So not 2025, but 2026 or beyond, when you say future year?
I believe it is scheduled for 2026.
I just have to say, and without having a great knowledge of city government and how it works and what exactly that means, that seems a shame to me. So many, I distributed a list of municipalities that have taken action on this issue. For example, Baltimore, Maryland has banned gas-powered leaf blowers. Here's a city that's facing a lot of challenges, and yet they've found the time and the political capital to do something to protect the hearing and the health of their residents. And I would just hope that this could be given a little bit more attention and moved up a bit. Last time I spoke, it was put off until 2025. Now it sounds as being put off to 2026. Again, I don't know exactly what it means that it's gone to the division or the department that you mentioned, but I would hope that that it could be given a little more attention and be given a higher priority in the city's decision-making process. This is an issue that works on both a local level. If it was only for greater enjoyment of the parks, you go to the park, your enjoyment of the park is not interrupted by a loud noise from one of these leaf blowers or weed whackers. To me, that would be enough. You'd say, well, let's just get the battery-powered leaf blowers. It should not really be that difficult of a thing to do. I don't know if the people who have the leaf blowers, if they're contractors or direct employees, but either way, you'd think that there would be a fairly easy way of doing this. But it's not just the enjoyment of the parks. It's also a health issue. Loud noises are bad for people. They're bad for your hearing. And one of these leaf blowers operating for an hour puts out as much pollution as a Camry driving 1,000 miles. It's an absurd amount. So hopefully, we'll do something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do believe we have some space for someone in support of middle housing. So Valentina Veneva, you did sign up in support. I'd ask, are your comments supportive?
I support the proposal, but I have concerns about the current proposal.
Okay, that would be another anti, so sorry.
The next speaker, same question, would be Liz Boggs. I believe Ms. Boggs is joining us virtually. Ms. Boggs, if you're joining us virtually, can you raise your hand? Okay, no hand is being raised. So at this point, we've made it through the list. We do have some additional time, so if there's anyone here who would like to speak to the council, please raise your hand. You've heard the limitations on the topics, though.
And I'd just like to encourage everybody to send an email if you did not get a chance to speak tonight.
Ma'am.
I'm going to let you.
Can you, I'm sorry, I can't see you, or come forward. Could you, if you could tell us your topic, though?
It's about the low-density residential areas.
So is it opposed to the proposed middle housing ordinance? So I'm afraid we've reached our limit on that, but you can send that in an email so we can read it. Thank you.
Okay, I do not see any additional hands in the audience. Again, if you, as the mayor said, if you weren't able to make comment tonight, please email the council, and the email address is council@bellevue.gov. Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, so hold on here. I have to read from the script, and I apologize for doing that, but I have to say it correctly. So tonight, under council business, we have added an item to consider an appeal of the notice of exclusion from attendance at council meetings that I issued on June 16th pertaining to Alex Zimmerman. The exclusion is for the period of June 16th through August 15th, 2025. As the presiding officer, in accordance with the council rules, I have the authority to issue a notice of exclusion to any individual who repeatedly disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of council meetings. I have found that Mr. Zimmerman has repeatedly disrupted, disturbed, or otherwise impeded the orderly conduct of our meetings, and has been previously excluded from public comment at city council meetings from October 14th through November 13th, 2024, and from attending council meetings from February 28th through April 29th, 2025. Mr. Zimmerman continued to violate the rules of decorum at the May 6th and June 10th, 2025 council meetings. Mr. Zimmerman was warned that his behavior violated the rules of decorum at each of the meetings, and/or was ejected or escorted out from the meeting when he continued to violate the rules despite being warned. I find that Mr. Zimmerman's violation of the rules of decorum and refusal to correct his conduct after being warned has caused actual disruptions and disturbances and impeded the orderly conduct of the meetings, and therefore is the basis for my issuance of the notice of exclusion from attending city council meetings for 60 days. At this point, I will turn it over to our city attorney, who will guide the council on next steps for considering the appeal filed by Mr. Zimmerman. Thank you, Trezida.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. I'll add a little bit more to what the mayor just said. Under council rules, any person excluded from participation or attendance at future council meetings may appeal the exclusion by submitting a written appeal. Mr. Zimmerman has submitted a timely written appeal, and per council rules, council has to consider the appeal tonight. Council consideration would be by reviewing both the notice of exclusion that has the reasons the mayor has just listed off for issuing the exclusion, as well as Mr. Zimmerman's written appeal that is supposed to explain the basis for his appeal. Council should not solicit any testimony, and after council's review, council will need to decide either to deny the appeal. This means upholding the mayor's exclusion order, or grant the appeal, which means overturning the mayor's notice of exclusion. So with that, I will turn it back to you, Mayor, to hold the discussion and make the decision.
Is there a motion?
I move to deny the appeal of the notice of exclusion issued to Alex Zimmerman on June 16, 2025.
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Next is the consent calendar. Do you have a motion?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We have a study session item, and I'm going to let the city manager introduce this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. I'm very pleased to welcome tonight the Honorable Judge Robertson, who's the King County District Court presiding judge. Bellevue's had a long partnership with King County District Court to provide the city's municipal court services, and this arrangement has served both the city and the district court very well, ensuring that we have quality and just judicial services within the city. Tonight, we have our Judge Robertson to speak to the state of the court. That will be part one of the presentation. And then the second part will be to cover the launch of our new community court program that is aimed at reducing recidivism and connecting individuals with low-level misdemeanor offenses to appropriate resources. So we have also at the table Craig Fritz, our probation manager in Parks and Community Services, and Stephen Penner, our chief prosecutor in the city attorney's office. So with that, I will hand it over to Judge Robertson.
Judge Robertson, thank you, and Stephen and Craig, thank you for being here.
Thank you all so much for having us. With me from King County District Court are your Bellevue judges. I have Judge Lisa O'Toole and Judge Matthew York, who are here as well. We also have Othniel Palomino, who is our chief administrator, Kim Howells, who is our city manager, and Kate Tramontana, who is our therapeutic courts manager, and our special guest, Johanna York, who came here with her dad today, just to watch this presentation. Thank you all so much for having us. This is information only. I want to tell you about the King County District Court and where we are today. We have been partnering with Bellevue for a long time, and we truly value and appreciate our partnership. Just as an illustration, there's separation of powers from the federal government all the way down to the city. So our judges here are myself, the chief presiding judge, as well as Judges O'Toole and Judge York, and then you, of course, have the council as well as the executive. Our judicial leadership in King County in King County District Court is by election. So all of the judges elect all the leaders in their court. I'm the presiding judge. We have an assistant presiding judge. Judge Lisa O'Toole from Bellevue is the East. Judge Todd and Judge Shotwell are the South and the West presiding judges. That's who do all the administrative work on the judicial side. In King County District Court, we have 25 elected judges. They're elected by electoral district. So you get judges from the Bellevue area for Bellevue, the Bellevue Courthouse. We have currently 9 district court locations. We have 13 contract cities that we work with. King County District Court always seeks to provide an accessible forum for the fair, efficient, and understandable resolution of civil and criminal cases and maintain an atmosphere of respect for the dignity of all individuals. This is our mission statement, and this is what we want to live up to every day. What King County District Court actually does handle, and many people are confused by this, are gross misdemeanor and misdemeanor criminal cases within the city of Bellevue. We do protection orders, civil litigation matters up to $100,000, small claims, civil infractions, and other civil matters like tow hearings, dog forfeitures, etc. Most of the judicial time, of course, is spent on the criminal cases. The infractions require one hearing, while criminal matters require multiple hearings. They're more serious by definition. They affect the liberty interests, and we must respect and enforce all constitutional rights during these criminal hearings. These are Bellevue 2024 case filings. So you had 41,000 cases. This is your 6-year history. So of course you can see the dip starting with COVID and then starts going back up in 2021. This mirrors most other cities. You're leveling out a little bit in 2024. We really appreciate your partnership with King County District Court. And we're gonna talk a little bit about the Bellevue Community Court and Resource Center, and I'll turn it over to Craig Fritz.
Good evening. Thank you, Judge Robertson. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. Like Judge Robertson said, Craig Fritz, probation manager. At this point, the three of us seated here at the table will provide you with information related to a very exciting update for the community. Following council's interest, the Bellevue Community Court will launch next month on July 15th. And then after our update this evening has concluded, we will open up for questions if anyone has any. Community Court is, of course, an expansion of our existing diversion programs. And we do want to sincerely thank the City Council for your guidance and your continued support of the Community Court initiative. Your commitment to innovative and community-centered justice has been instrumental in bringing this program to life. So as we prepare to launch on July 15th, we're especially proud that this initiative prioritizes not only access to services and accountability, but also community safety. We look forward to the positive impact this effort will have on all of our residents. And I invite Judge Robertson once again to speak on the some of the logistics of the community court and the resource center.
Thank you. Oh, I have to go back? Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so as you probably know, the Alternative Therapeutic Court is available for our eligible participants. We want to hold participants accountable, but help them with whatever in their lives is causing them to commit crimes and help them to improve their lives. Judge Lisa O'Toole will be presiding over our community court. The planned launch is July 15th of 2025 and is to be held at the downtown library. The cases that are going to be eligible are the misdemeanor cases, mostly theft and other quality of life charges. So if someone has any criminal history, such as violent felonies, domestic violence cases, DUI cases, they will not be eligible for community court. They'll be offered a 4-month, what's called a stipulated order of continuance. It's an agreement between the city and the defense that a person will get a continuance, but have to, under a contract, do several things, obligations. And if they are successful, the case will be dismissed. If they are not, then it will be sent to the mainstream court. The things they might be required to do are a needs assessment to determine what kind of interventions they need. Do they need mental health, substance abuse, housing, et cetera? What kind of resources they need, and that is all dependent on the circumstances. They might also be made to do some community service, et cetera, to give back to the community. We are scheduled to launch on July 15th, and we'll have an open house. We're anticipate about 25 cases at any given time, and so would hopefully do between 75 and 100 cases per year. That's what our other community courts do as well. Our resource center provides substance use disorder treatment, mental health disorder treatment, housing resources. DSHS is there. There's transportation resources, fresh meals each week for both the participants and community resource center visitors, hygiene products for folks, and employment services. We anticipate about 120 to 150 community members per month, totaling about 1,500 per year that are going to be served out of the resource center. And we'll have flyers and posters that will be available to you to distribute.
So speaking kind of just briefly about the foundation of community court, to expand on Judge Robertson's existing points, it is built on the foundation of being a meaningful alternative to the traditional court process. The goal ultimately is to increase safety for all by focusing on access to these supportive services and on accountability and early intervention. It does represent a deeper collaboration between community-based partners and the criminal justice system, including health, housing, human services, and a myriad of other supportive services for individuals. As Judge Robertson mentioned, a key component is the Community Resource Center, and it is a hub where, not only participants of the court can access services, but any member of the community will have access to this resource center every week. These elements are designed to create lasting and positive outcomes for communities and the individuals alike. The Community Court and Resource Center will, as Judge Robertson mentioned, also be located at the Bellevue Library in the downtown area. This ensures that the court and its accompanying services are easily accessible to community members, participants, and service providers as well. In reducing transportation barriers and placing services within reach of many, it's more likely that individuals will engage in the support that's offered. Ultimately, of course, increasing compliance, participation, and then the overall effectiveness of the program. One of the most incredible things about this model and the program itself is the collaboration. It is a direct result of a strong and intentional collaboration and partnership between the City of Bellevue, the King County District Court, the King County Library System, and our broader community. Each of these partners and many others has brought a unique perspective, resources, and many strengths to the table. Whether it's the city supporting the coordination or the court providing a more restorative approach to justice, the library offering an accessible, central, and welcoming space for everyone, or the community members and organizations shaping services to meet real needs. The collaboration exemplifies what's possible when systems come together with a shared commitment to well-being, dignity, and justice. In recognition of this collaborative effort, like Judge Robertson mentioned, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the judges and team members from the King County District Court and also the members of the library system that are with us in the audience tonight. With the City of Bellevue involvement specifically, the city, of course, has played a vital role in the creation and continued support of the community court through the collaboration, as you see, of several departments. Deputy City Manager Genesee Atkins from the City Manager's Office has provided coordination and leadership to help bring the vision to life. Assistant Chiefs Slappy and Papachok and their team members from the Bellevue Police Department have been integral in discussions and work groups so far to ensure a welcoming and safe environment in their provision of on-site security for the courtroom. The City Attorney's Office has been working closely with the courts and the public defense team to support a restorative approach to justice. Nico Quijano and the Homelessness Outreach team bring invaluable expertise in connecting individuals to housing and services. Our probation division has been present in the formation of the community court and its steering committee meetings and expands the court's impact by offering additional guidance and opportunities and resources to help participants succeed and thrive. And of course, together, these efforts do reflect the city's commitment to a more compassionate and effective approach to community safety and well-being.
Mr. Bennett?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm here to add some comments kind of with a public safety lens, because I know that that's also going to be a concern of the community. Community court we aren't the first court or city to do this. This has been going on for years in King County, and it is a proven model to reduce recidivism for certain select defendants. And reduced recidivism then benefits the entire community. And the Resource Center, I think, is Craig mentioned, it's open to anyone in the community. And so if there are people in our community who could avoid committing some of these misdemeanor crimes by getting the treatment that they need before they do them, that's another way that the community can benefit. It's important to note that this is only going to be for certain select defendants, and all of them have to be approved by the prosecutor. So there are going to be crimes that are just simply not going to be eligible. There won't be any domestic violent cases that go here, no DUIs, really no assaults, nothing violent. In addition, criminal history is going to be taken into account. So if we have someone with a lot of history or some serious history, or maybe just one prior, but it's a serious felony, that's not someone who's going to be a good candidate for community court and not someone that the city is likely to approve. What we're looking for are the people who are most likely to benefit from the intense treatment that's going to be provided to them so that they can succeed and not reoffend. In addition to the prosecutor, defense attorney, and the judges, there's actually a court administrator whose job it is to work directly with
Excuse me,
the...
just for
Yeah.
1 second. Councilmember Lee, you're not able to hear?
No, the audience are not able to hear.
Okay.
Is that better?
I don't know.
All right, I didn't want to do the feedback. So
Yeah, I know.
can everybody hear now? Yes. All right.
All right, thank you.
Cool. To recap very quickly, the city prosecutor's office is in support of this because we think it will help certain individuals not reoffend, which will benefit the entire community. But importantly, like I said, we're involved in the decision of who gets to do this program, and we'll take that seriously. And we're looking for people who will benefit. We already do offer similar diversion programs through the mainstream court. They take longer. They're usually 12 months, maybe 18 months. The idea here is to get to the treatment faster, more intensely, and succeed sooner. One of the ways they do that is that the courtroom is right next door to the resource center. And so immediately after they check in with the judge, they can go get the services that they need. There's an expectation, though, that they're going to do that and that they're going to engage meaningfully. If they fail to comply with the conditions of community court, there are safeguards. The case doesn't just bounce back and now I have to deal with it like the rest of my cases. In order to enter into this, it's an agreement, and the defendant will be giving up their trial rights. If they don't comply with the conditions, they'll simply be found guilty and then put into probation on the same conditions, which is intentional because that allows us to take some of these cases where people can succeed, get them over to the library, and allow us to focus at the courthouse on the more serious charges. So overall, like I said, the city prosecutor's office is in support of this. It's a collaborative effort, and I think it's going to be very successful and beneficial for the city.
All right, thank you very much.
So in closing, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members, Community Court, of course, represents a very collaborative and thoughtful step forward in how we approach these low-level offenses that Mr. Penner mentioned. The focus is on access to services, accountability, and community safety. We are, as I mentioned earlier, incredibly, incredibly grateful for the council support in making this initiative a reality, and we're very excited about the positive impact that it will have on individuals and our broader community. Again, thank you for your time and continued partnership, and we'd now be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you, and I really appreciate all of you being here tonight. Let's start with you, Councilmember Hamilton, since Parks and Human Services is in charge of probation.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank all of you for being here. Thank you, Judge Robertson, of course, for the presentation. Really pleased to see Judge O'Toole, who I get a chance to visit with monthly, and Judge York, and especially to Johanna for being here tonight as well. So thank you for that. Appreciate all the good work you do in the community to make it better and safer for all of us, and for your leadership with our community court. Mr. Penner, thank you for being here as well. I haven't had the chance to meet you in person before tonight, but I've certainly heard positive feedback from folks at BPD and other community members about your collaborative, results-oriented approach in support of our community safety. Also, Craig, thank you for being here, and Tony as well, for all of your efforts in support of our probation program. I think it makes a great fit, obviously, with community court. Appreciate getting a close-up view of all the work you do in my role as liaison to the Probation Advisory Board. And I saw, too, Mr. Frappier here from KCLS, so appreciate the support, and I'm glad that our community court has found a home at the Bellevue Library. The collaborative approach you take to delivering results for community members, including victims, clients, and residents, infuses the process with accountability, support, and long-term stability. I'm excited for the community court and its resource center to get up and running here in Bellevue. It makes total sense that the community court would have an adjacent resource center, and I'm thrilled that, as mentioned earlier, community members can access and find resources in the Resource Center, whether or not they are involved in community court. In our agenda memo tonight, it was laid out, I think, really well. The goal is to increase safety for everyone by holding community court clients accountable while helping them improve their lives. Adding the community court and resource center to our public safety toolbox provides critical support to our citywide public safety efforts. It gives us a chance to meaningfully address the underlying challenges people face when they get involved with the criminal justice system. When folks have support in dealing with their specific challenges, when they're given an opportunity to get their lives on track, and when they are held accountable to their commitments, then they can exit the criminal justice system for good. I love this program. As mentioned, it's been successful in a number of other areas around the country, around the county at least, and I'm thrilled to see it coming to our city. So hope to hear back from you in a year or so. Love to hear how things are going, and again, just appreciate all your efforts. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Newhouse.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for being here. My colleague did a great job naming all of you, so I won't go through that again, but thank you all for being here. It shows the great support that Community Court has, and it's a thrill to have it here at our downtown library. And the results that I have heard from around the county and around the country, actually, because it's not unique to us here, are really great. So I'm really excited to see this launch. Just a couple of quick questions about the hours that you mentioned, because I think it also is great about the Resource Center. Great way to reach out to folks who hopefully they do need some help in any way or degree, that you can offer that even before they think about committing a crime or entering the justice system. So what are the hours? Is that 5 days a week, 7 days a week? So what days, and then what are the hours like? And then is that running concurrently while cases are going on?
Okay, so it would be.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stump you.
That's all right. It would be wonderful if we could do it 7 days a week. We
Okay.
can't. It's scheduled, a court will be held every Tuesday at the library. It'll start, depending on your role, somewhere between noon and 1. So the judges and attorneys will show up early and go through the cases, and defendants will start showing up around 2.
Yeah.
The Resource Center is right next door, but in the same building, and that will be open that whole afternoon, and it usually runs till about 5. So it'll be every Tuesday. The only thing I'm not sure about is whether or not the Resource Center will be open that morning as well, or if people show up at 1.
I think it's just in the
Okay.
afternoon.
So from 1 to 5 every Tuesday. One thing I can let the council know is that Bellevue is going to be probably one of the biggest cities to start doing this. And the initial plan is to ramp this up and fill up an afternoon. We think we can do about 75 to 100 cases a year that way. You saw the statistics. There were about 41,000 cases filed in Bellevue District Court. Most of those are infractions and parking tickets. The criminal caseload is, last year we had 1,961 cases. And it's been kind of slowly going up. It was about 1,800 a couple years ago, and is likely to be about 2,000 this year. And so there's a belief that once this is off the ground, up and running, doing well, that we may actually be the first to expand to a full day, to allow more people the opportunity to go through this. And that's probably a year out. But at that point, then the Resource Center would probably run the full day, and that would be great.
That's great. And then I assume that information or a kiosk will be there if someone is not able to make it on the Tuesday to find out information, correct?
Yes. So the library is going to be making sure there'll be postings and things like that, and there's going to be community outreach. Where there's a whole team dedicated to that. And nice thing too is Bellevue's got a really good system here for dealing with people who need help. We have our CARES team and all that, and they're aware of the situation too. And so if some of our city workers encounter somebody on a Friday afternoon who could benefit from this, they'll know about it and they'll be told about it. And it's just part of one city, actually. So.
And last question, I think you touched on it, transportation. If an individual has a tough time being able to actually get to the library, we do offer some type of stipend or program to allow them to get there via public transit. I'm seeing a lot of head nods, yeah.
Yeah, we have bus tickets that we can give people. Luckily, the library is located right on a bus line.
Okay.
So we can provide that.
Great, Thank you so much.
Deputy Mayor.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much. Also, add my thanks to Judge Robertson. Thank you so much for being here and doing the great presentation. Thank you, Mr. Preneur Craig. Thank you so much, and all of your fellow colleagues who are sitting on the back, especially our beloved Judge Otul. I am very happy that you are doing that. It is really great to see how we are enhancing access to justice and addressing the root causes of law offenses. So I'm very happy to see that. The collaboration between our city, the courts, the King County, and service providers shows that we really are committing ourselves in Bellevue to keeping our community safe, supported, and thriving. I have two questions. One is, do we have any baseline data or performance indicator in place so we can track reduction in recidivism or improvements in participant outcomes over time? If we come back here in 2 years, how do we know we are getting the result that we are hoping?
We do have data because we have other community courts, and so we can grab some data from them. With our new case management system, that's much easier to do, and we have some pretty positive data. However, we want to wait another year because it's very new data before we can really make a positive comparison between regular cases and our community court cases. So when we do come back, we will have data from both Bellevue as well as all of our other courts. But nationwide, when community courts have been around for quite some time, all have very positive data.
Thank you. And the data is just basically the reduction in the time of that, or do you have other metrics that you track, maybe housing stability or employment rates? I'm just brainstorming with you guys. I'm not sure if there is any other metrics that we are tracking.
From the court's perspective, we're tracking recidivism. So we can look at our ability to track other things, but from the data and what the court has access to, we can track recidivism. But if recidivism goes down, we know that probably housing is going up, access to services is going up.
Thank you so much. Last question. I am also very happy to see that we have the resource center there, and I think it's great that it's open to other people that they need those services. Do we have any, it is all in person, or do we have any online access? And if this, even the community court can be via COVID taught us we can do everything online. Is there any virtual counseling, telehealth, or I don't know, mobile apps, or even anything that they can do and not commute to the place?
Yes, but part of the program and part of why it works is the in-person engagement. And so participants are encouraged to attend in person if at all possible. And the resources in the resource center include things like housing, mental health, substance abuse, but they also include transportation. And King County Metro is there to help with that kind of thing. If somebody can't make it for some reason, there are options to Zoom into the court. We had a session a couple weeks ago. We went out to the library and did a tech check, and everything was working great. So that's possible, but it'll be better if they can show up in person.
Thank you so much again. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As every council member has suggested, I really appreciate that you've been here and to let us know, what's going on, especially under the leadership of Judge Robertson. Thank you. As you know, this country is based on check and balance, legislative, executive, so most importantly, to make it work and legal and to be completely objective is the judicial branch. So you are invaluable. That
You're a man after my own heart. Thank you.
Thank you. You make it what works. Okay, we see. Yeah. So I think we appreciate you being here, close to us in the city, where government or politics is local, and you actually can address the local situation. I appreciate what the Deputy Mayor was saying about if we have any data to track, how do we improve? How do we, this, I assume, everything we do, especially it's a new thing in Bellevue. Actually, every place you go, if it's new, we can learn more about it, how it works, and how can we make it better. So do we have the national numbers that we can use it for some kind of comparison that can give us some knowledge of improvement?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't want to say you have or you don't have, or what do you have, because, I'm sure you do, but I just want to be sure that I think that would be one way to getting better. But more importantly, I think that's relevant to us. Bellevue is a community that has a lot of different cultures here, immigrants. Over 40% of the population is born outside, and we have many cultures here. As you know, different cultures have different perception, experience, and attitude toward legal system. We're not used to cops, and you go to court, you say, oh, you're in trouble. If you go in court, in many countries, the judge, you're already guilty. So I think, as a result, I was wondering, is there anything you're doing or considering to lessen the fear or the inhibition of people from other cultures and countries, that they feel that they are going to a place where they are actually getting fair help and fair judgment? Because like we say, the court can make law enforcement much more effective. If the law's not on side, the court's not working, the police officers can't do very much, right? And the criminals are not going to they're going to get away with whatever they may not should be. So as a result, if maybe you can let us know if there's ways that you are doing it to make the other culture, other immigrants feel that they are more at ease when they come to the court system.
Sure, we are doing that. Community court is set up much differently than the regular court system, even in the physical layout. The parties, including the judge, are all seated almost at the same table, at the same level, and having a conversation rather than the normal court experience where they become before the judge, who's much higher on the bench, and the judge is telling someone what to do, and we don't have a lot of conversations with defendants for a lot of good reason, because unfortunately, often they confess when we start talking to them. But community court is going to be a little bit different because they've already entered into community court. And it's really about making a personal contact and having some rapport with someone. And this is why in person is so much better, so that they begin to trust we're on the same level. We let them know that we care about them. We have everything available for them there. We base our practices in community court off best practices models nationally. We all just went to a conference on 8,000 person conference, national conference called All Rise, and Judge York has been to this before. Judge O'Toole and I went, and this time on really what's the best practices for a therapeutic court. How do you speak to what's trauma-based communication about? What's cultural-based communication, and how do you do that? So there are very many things that we are doing to try and make this experience less scary, less oppressive, and more understandable for folks, especially understanding that there are so many people from different cultures who react differently to the justice system, and having that cultural competency when we go in there. I have no doubt that Judge O'Toole will do a fantastic job doing this. We're really trying to make it better in every respect. And you talked about checks and balances of the judiciary. I know Mr. Penner said they're going to be found guilty if they don't comply.
I may have overspoken.
It's actually a contract. The court has to read the police report. So there's that extra check and balance that the court still has to read the police report to determine, is there actually reasonable doubt that this person committed the crime or not? So these folks are not giving up their due process. They're not giving up their right to a defense from an attorney, but they are accessing as much as we can offer to make them, to help them heal and make them do better in their own lives. So we think about that all the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Suma Dwaria.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, by the way, and also thank you for the supporters in the audience. I mean, as you know, a really healthy community has to have intergeneration and cross-cultural experience. And I'm so glad you're actually incorporating all these things. And I see the little girl, she's part of this. So these are definitely intergenerational experience. Because I think the earlier we can start to educate our kids, it's okay to give somebody second chance, and we have to give them resources while holding them accountable. It's actually very unique and impactful in the long run, right? My colleague said everything I need to say already. Thank you for being so bright and brilliant, but I just have a few questions I want to ask. When we talk about the resources, right? As I'm thinking, the mental health and then possibly housing, what other resources are we able to offer?
So do you have? Since
So-
we're all looking at each other because we
Right.
all have the answers, so I don't want to step on each other. Go ahead.
Certainly mental health, substance use, the housing, their just access to healthcare and so many, I'm trying to go through all of the, the partners and providers that have been more than willing to commit to joining, perhaps not every week, but, some every week, some twice per month or every other week. Transportation, I know I'm probably
they have-
missing just a ton, but yes. Yeah,
Is there,
have-
can you share the list with us so we can share the community?
We can share the list of all the providers.
you.
There are people who help folks get on, say, Apple Care, so that they now have health insurance, because that's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
And so then they have somewhere that can actually pay for their substance use or mental health treatment, to helping them, here's some housing vouchers, and we have beds actually promised to us from various organizations for community court. So we have a specific number of beds to helping them get on electronic benefits transfers so they can go get food. So folks who are there who kind of address the person as a whole, they're all in the same place, because one of the barriers that folks face, of course, is trying to do this all on their own when things are spread throughout the community, and we have it all there, and we're very happy to provide you a list.
And then does the resources usually come with more than one language?
Sometimes, that's difficult. I
Yeah.
think there are over 150 languages.
Yeah.
What we have deployed to various places is what's called Pocket Talk, which is an AI translator that will help us work with various folks. We can also get interpreters if we need, or use language line, but we have those capabilities. Unfortunately, not all that, everything we need is not translated into everything that we could give folks, but we do have access to other resources.
Thank you. Did you have something else to say? Okay. I think as long as we have thought of it, then there's always a great opportunity for us to see it. Thank you so much. That's all my questions.
Councilmember Bragarva.
Thank you. Can you hear me? And
Yes.
maybe even see me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, first of all, apologies for not being in the room. You can probably hear it in my voice. Trying to keep the germs to myself. And thank you again for the incredible work. Councilmember Hamilton did a great job calling out individual people. Very hard to do it, especially when I'm remote. So thank you, everyone, for this incredible effort and initiative. I think I really believe this work will help with reducing recidivism, as you've called out. I think support public safety, as you've called out. I think it also saves taxpayer dollars when you think about this in the big picture. I think it also really, more importantly, brings strengthening to the trust and equity within the community. And it also allows us to sort of enhance the coordination of services, which you've called out in different ways, between healthcare, substance abuse, mental health support, employment services. It's a long list. So it's really incredible. I'm really looking forward to the successful outcomes here. I know you talked about metrics, and this is a really important thing when you launch something new like this, about tracking recidivism over 6, 12 months and periods like that. But I would also suggest maybe we think about the completion rates for treatment plans and support as another way to track this. Maybe overtime, cost of court time and jail costs over time, that maybe we can track. And I think, to Councilmember Lee's point, sort of participant outcomes and community input. I think that would be another thing to see if we can track or measure in some way that allows us to understand how it's impacting different parts of our community. Um, Three really quick questions, and these are really quick. One, have you considered sort of, or do you already have a case management system or a assignment of case managers who can help coordinate these services and track compliance at a
Yes.
personalized level?
Yes, we do. In each community court, we have case managers, and we have our own case management system that allows us to track.
Okay, that's incredible. I thought you must have. That's why it's really quick. Another simple thing is, have you considered sort of a resource referral system that folks can come back to on an ongoing basis for support programs that you make available?
Like a ongoing program?
Yes.
I think that would be fantastic, but we would have to have the funding to do that. We certainly couldn't order someone, but someone could come back to the resource center every Tuesday if they wanted to continue accessing services. The hope is that once they have that initial contact within the resource center, then they will be set up with their mental health provider or with their housing services, so they don't necessarily need to come back to just the housing provider. But we contract with many organizations that work with us, treatment agencies, housing, et cetera, so we are able to kind of track how people are doing through those organizations.
That's great. And last thing, I think one of the things maybe you talked about and I didn't catch, or maybe it's an opportunity, is to create a really, well, as we launch middle of July, like an ongoing basis, maybe a communications plan so that we can make sure everybody understands the impact and value of the program, whether it's through, newsletters or social media or community events. So it's really spreading the word on a consistent basis. That would be my only other suggestion. So
I
thank
appreciate
you so
that.
much.
We actually have a subcommittee on media, and we have an entire communication plan that goes out to everyone, the Bellevue social media, Bellevue websites. We're going to have information in the library. We're going to have information at City Hall with not vendors, but shopping places around town, so that we have a large amount of information that we can provide over a large community, and so we have a whole plan for that. Thank you. And if we're missing anything, please let us know when it starts coming out.
If I could
Yeah,
add
no, that sounds
the,
great. Looks like you're being referring. Go ahead.
the plan to kind of really do the announcements and kind of have the grand opening and all that, I think is for September, to give us a couple of months to make sure that it's operating smoothly and,
Yeah.
yeah.
We want to get the kinks out before we invite everyone to come watch.
Yeah, that's great. Appreciate it. Again, really, thank you for doing this and kudos on a really great initiative for the city.
Thank you.
I'll be quick. So what percentage of crime in Bellevue like this is committed by Bellevue residents?
I did the research.
Okay,
So our police department keeps track of that. And basically, right now, it's about 28% of the crimes that Bellevue police respond to are full-time residents. Another 2% are part-time residents. So that, I guess, is 30%. 42% is non-residents. And then there's another about 28% where they weren't able to tell necessarily. So those are the numbers.
Okay, so I'm proud of that number because I think we have so many support programs for the people who live here that we're doing a lot of preventative work. And so I'm very happy to see that we can provide that to people from other cities who may not be able to get those services elsewhere. And it's going to benefit all of us in the end, I think, for them to get that. So I appreciate it. I don't think you asked this question. We're looking at mandatory minimum coming up here, and we put it off to get this report from you first. So can you tell us how community court would coordinate with the mandatory minimum if we were to adopt that? Mandatory minimum sentencing?
Okay. So I had some thought about that before I came in. There wouldn't be a direct connection necessarily. What I think would be is that someone who qualified to have mandatory minimums imposed, someone who had several theft, say, convictions within a short period of time, is pretty unlikely to be a good candidate for community court.
Okay.
And, well, it wouldn't be impossible for that to happen. And there could be exceptions for somebody who maybe once we get all the information, we realize why there was a crime spree over the last couple of years, we could look into doing that. I think it's likely to be two different populations.
Great. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Information only, so no need to take action. With that, we're going to take a break till 10 till. And it's not a rule, but I'd ask council to take a break in the back and not hang out in the gallery. Okay, so we have two ordinances, but we're going to do them kind of together in one fell swoop. So City Manager, why don't you introduce this for us, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Deputy Mayor and council members. Tonight you have a decision in front of you regarding the land use code for middle housing and an accompanying Bellevue City Code ordinance. And want to recognize that this is a significant change, and it is spurred by the vision and need for housing that can serve the different needs in our community, and also by significant new state requirements. So on June 10th, council reviewed the land use code amendment that was recommended by the Planning Commission, and you gave direction to staff regarding specific options for inclusion in the final ordinance, which is included in your packet for action tonight. Clearly, over the process of developing this and through the Planning Commission and your own process, you've received a lot of input from stakeholders and from community members. Your direction does represent a balance of the interests. And having said that, I think we clearly understand there will be ongoing questions about how the new codes are being used, and also how they're being implemented, and that council is interested likely in how we will track and report on what is happening and what flexibility might be available for adjustment in the future. Staff tonight is prepared to speak to that as part of the presentation or your discussion. With the direction you provided on June 10th, we're asking you to adopt the final ordinances this evening. Doing so would ensure that we have Bellevue-specific codes in place to meet the state deadline. With that, we have, again, Development Services Department representatives, Director Rebecca Horner, Code and Policy Director Nick Whipple, and Kirsten Matt, our Senior Planner. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rebecca.
Thank you, City Manager Carlson. My name is Rebecca Horner with Development Services. Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of council. Very happy to be here tonight to hopefully seek direction for adoption for the Land Use Code Amendment and the Bellevue City Code Amendment. Our agenda this evening is to briefly remind everybody of the project background, to recap the very robust discussion and direction from council on some very specific topic areas which have been incorporated into the final Land Use Code Amendment and Bellevue City Code Amendment, which we will go over that specifically, and finally lead for council direction for hopeful adoption. And so with that, we have Kirsten and Nick with us from the department. We'll start with Nick, and then Kirsten will get into some of the specifics.
Great. Thank you, Rebecca, and good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of the council. So I'll talk about the project background and then pass it to Kirsten to walk us through all the details. So this project really began with the comprehensive plan periodic. No, Nick, we can't hear you. Okay, let's test. We're having some mic issues. I can switch to if this. Great, thank you. Okay, so in terms of the project background, so this really began as part of the comprehensive plan periodic update process. This is the city's 10-year effort to update our comprehensive plan, and it looks out at a 20-year horizon. So for Bellevue, that's out till 2044. So council initiated this work in February of 2022. After initiating the comp plan periodic update, the council was also interested in getting some early actions underway to support the housing that we were needing within the city. So council initiated work on middle housing and accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, as part of the Next Right Work initiative, and that was in January of 2023. So this was ahead of any state mandate to implement middle housing. And then in July of 2023, the legislature in Olympia had passed House Bills 1110 and House Bill 1337, requiring cities to provide for middle housing and accessory dwelling units, and Kirsten will get into the details of those bills. And then we began engaging with Planning Commission on the specific details of the land use code after council had adopted the comp plan periodic update, which was, you all adopted that plan change in October of 2024 ahead of our December 2024 deadline. And then we began engaging with the Planning Commission on the specific details of that code amendment. So Kirsten's going to walk us through the overall state law requirements that we are addressing with this code update, as well as a recap of that June 10th study session.
Great, thanks, Nick. Can everyone hear me well?
Oh, yeah.
Get nice and close. So we are here tonight with two ordinances to implement House Bills 1110 and 1337. 1110 being the middle housing bill and 1337 being the ADU bill. Those laws outline baseline requirements for compliance with the state law, which are included within the ordinances. That being with 1110, 4 units citywide by right. That means you can have those units without really doing anything for them, like paying a fee or providing some other kind of benefit. Or 6 units when within 1/4 mile of a major transit stop, or when 2 of those units are affordable. There are also parking reductions in the bill, as well as a general requirement that we cannot apply more restrictive regulations to middle housing than we do to single-family projects. For 1337, the baseline requirement is to provide 2 ADUs on all lots, attached or detached in any combination. It also sets some minimum size and minimum height requirements. There's also reduced impact fee requirements. It's 50% of what those fees would be for a single-family home. There's an exemption from having to provide frontage improvements. And then similar to 1110, there are some parking exemptions and reductions as well in that bill. So there's kind of a couple of different stages of documents that are important in understanding how these different components interact. Again, as I just described, there's the state law that establishes those baseline requirements for density, those parking restrictions, some of the ADU-specific requirements, and then providing some flexibility on middle housing types and whether or not to count ADUs towards that total density in 1110. Recognizing that the state law does not address all of the components needed to fully adopt a middle housing ordinance, the State Department of Commerce developed a model ordinance. It kind of served 2 different purposes. One is to provide some guidance to jurisdictions looking to adopt their own local ordinances. It also serves as a potential ordinance to be adopted for local jurisdictions that may not have the resources to develop their own code, so especially smaller jurisdictions that may not have a very large planning staff. And then also it will take effect if no local ordinance is adopted by a jurisdiction. That ordinance contains a number of similar types of components as we have in the ordinances, such as FAR limitations, height limitations, setbacks, things like that. The model ordinance was developed based on lot sizes that are much smaller than those we see typically in the city of Bellevue. That is one of the components by which we felt we could do a better job at crafting something really Bellevue specific, which we feel we have done with the ordinances we have before council this evening. So the third component of those documents we have is the Land Use Code Amendment and the Bellevue City Code Amendment. These are Bellevue-specific regulations tailored to both implement state law, align with our recently adopted comp plan, and to address that Bellevue-specific lot size context and housing need. A quick recap on the discussion at the June 10th meeting, just to kind of remind everyone the discussions we have and where we landed with some of these major components. In the ordinance reflects these, which is the 4 units citywide or 6 units when 2 are affordable, or where a fee in lieu is paid for each of those 2 bonus units. The in lieu fee option included in the ordinance is $150,000 per extra unit that exceeds that 4 unit cap up to 6, and that is citywide.
The ordinance also includes 6 units by right within a 1/4 mile walking distance of a major transit stop, and those are our light rail stations and our King County Metro B-Line rapid ride stations. The ordinance also includes 6 units by right within a 1/4 mile walking distance of our regional and candidate countywide growth centers. The ordinance also counts detached ADUs towards the overall limits listed above, but attached ADUs would not count towards those overall units above. The ordinance also allows for all 9 of the middle housing types outlined in the bill. Some additional adjustments made at the June 10th meeting were adjustment to the height limits, excluding cottage housing, to 35 feet for a pitched roof, 32 for a flat roof, down from 38 feet. And then those cottage housing specific adjustments to reduce the maximum height to 24 feet and the maximum unit size down to 1,500 square feet with a 300 square foot garage exempt from that. And that cottages are not subject to the unit cap. They are governed by maximum FAR and then the site restrictions and cottage size. And then for parking, requiring a minimum of 1 stall per unit, with no parking required within a 1/2 mile walking distance of major transit. There are a few Bellevue City Code amendments that were also included in the May 13th packet. Those are really focused on making sure that we can very well implement this when it hits the ground running, just to make sure that there aren't conflicts between some of our Bellevue City Code and the Land Use Code and the requirements that we need to implement that. For transportation, the 2 key components there are updating where frontage improvements are required to make sure, again, that we're not treating middle housing differently than we do single family or treating it more harshly. And then looking at access considerations for middle housing, that being looking at our joint access driveway regulations to see if we can make those more flexible to allow more units than we do currently. So rather than limiting that to 2 units, letting that go up to 6 units. And we'll be ongoing working with our transportation folks for the transportation design manual updates to look at what the standards for those will be. And then in the clearing and grading code, these were a lot of cleanup items to align with the tree code updates in the land use code, since we have that code in both sections. And then kind of a long lingering update to the setback from the edge of critical area buffers for grading that was quite large before and was becoming an issue as part of the development process. So we were working with our building and clear and grade team on that component. In terms of schedule and next steps, getting very far down to the right side of this slide. Of course, we're here tonight on the 24th asking for action ahead of the June 30th adoption deadline. And with that, that is the presentation we have for you all this evening.
Okay, just a minute. I just wanted to write something down for myself here. So we had a very long meeting 2 weeks ago where we discussed all this, very good conversations. I'm going to start us off by saying my goals again in the votes that I have taken. Didn't get everything I wanted, but the feedback from the community has been 50% wanting us to do more than we agreed to do, than we proposed to do 2 weeks ago, and 50% wanting us to do less. So it's very hard decisions, and we're all have our own opinions on this. My goals, my long-term goals are to increase housing at all affordabilities in Bellevue, increase opportunities for more families to live in our neighborhoods, increase opportunities for our kids, more kids to be enrolled in our Bellevue School District. I want employees to be able to live closer to work if they choose, and that residents who choose to can live in Bellevue without a car. Because the cost of living is so high, and when you provide that opportunity, it really does make it more affordable to live here. I want to retain and expand our tree canopy. I want senior-friendly housing that people can downsize into, and I want starter homes for first-time home buyers. I want to retain our neighborhood character, create a sustainable and an equitable and accessible community. And so to address some of the things that have come up, we hear about the desire for larger cottage size, and we can have larger home sizes on the existing lots, and we can put in 1750 square foot homes. They're just not going to be called cottages, so I don't have a problem with our definition of cottage. I think that when we think about should we expand the walk shed to half a mile versus a quarter mile, when you look at the impact on certain neighborhoods, not all, there are some neighborhoods that have no infrastructure to support a walkable community at this point. And so I think at the half mile limit, so I think the quarter mile is exactly right. I'm really interested in looking at pre-approved cottage designs. I know Kirkland has done that successfully. I would love to reassess our decision in 2 to 3 years and see how it's going. And if it's somehow we've made a terrible mistake and we see that sooner, we can always take action sooner. I want to make sure that we have enforcement of our non-transient or our transient short-term rental law. I think that has to go hand in hand with the expansion here of increased density. I also want to look at enforcement of empty rentals. So if we can, I don't know if that's going to be a budget item, but I think that's something I would like to bring up at council business, and I'm asking staff to give me an estimate of how much time that would take to do an inventory and come up with a policy. And then we need to make sure that we can educate the community property owners of what's possible with their property, what they want to do with it, so that they're knowledgeable. I know that housing opportunity, mixed-use areas, the HOMA is coming up this year. And we can discuss that further, and that's going to be a very interesting conversation. So I'm going to stay with what we proposed last week, even though, like I said, I didn't get everything the way I wanted it particularly, but it is a good balance. I think we took our votes in based on what was previously voted as we went through all the different things. So I'm going to stay with that, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to our deputy mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I am going to start with my thanks. Thank you all, amazing staff, Nick, Christine, all of the whole DS group under your leadership. Amazing job. I also wanted to thank Planning Commission. I believe Councilmember Bargava was part of the Planning Commission when all of this middle housing discussion came to them, many late nights for them. The whole joke was if they finish a meeting before 11 p.m., that would be a good night. So I really appreciate their hard work on this topic, but also every community member, every developer, every person who give us feedback through this process. Many of our residents get so involved, and I am so appreciate of the details and how much they educated themselves to understand this very, very complex topic. So I appreciate them. I believe some of them have some details that I don't even know how they get to those details, and shows how much is important for them, their neighborhood, their area that they live. So I appreciate all of their efforts. They don't have a land use owner or someone to help them. They just did all of this hard work to understand, with the help of the staff, maybe answering some of their questions, but all of their research was astonishing. So thank you. And many of your comments, many of your advocacy led to real changes in the code, and that's how the process should be. Thank you, my fellow council members. We had a great discussion the last time. I always learn from each of you, and you guys, we voted on many items, and the final result seems a balanced one. I believe we are at the place that we landed that respect the character of our neighborhoods and allows for more diverse range of housing options that hopefully some of them are going to be more attainable. I agree with Mayor. Let's just give some time to play out, and then we come back in few years. By then, we have data. We know more about the housing production, how it's being applied, and whether it's actually helping to create the housing that we are hoping to have. Are these production damaging our neighborhoods? And we will come back and we can find if nothing has been built, or if the process is not working, or our infrastructure is not capable. We can get all of those information and we can revisit and adjust. Right now, it feels like a reasonable and responsible step forward. I personally do not want to miss the opportunity and we go defaulted on the state model, as we all agree in Bellevue. We don't want to be part of the one-size-fits-all approach that doesn't reflect the unique character of our city. So I am also, Mayor, like you, okay with what we have voted last time, and I'm ready to adopt. Thank you.
Bhargava.
Sorry, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting myself. I want to begin by acknowledging and thanking the community and all the stakeholders for the strong public engagement throughout the process that we've had. I've truly valued the opportunity to sit down and have conversations, meaningful conversations with residents, developers, and a wide range of voices from across our city on this really important topic. I also want to acknowledge and thank the staff for the great work they have done, and my former peers on the Planning Commission for all the hard work that's gone into getting us this recommendation and the debates that we've had to get us to a place where we are today. While this has been a challenging and complex process, our goals with middle housing have remained consistent through the process. Increasing housing affordability, expanding flexibility and choice in housing types available, and better serve the diverse needs of our community, whether it's young families, seniors looking to downsize, or anyone in between. This work is also about enhancing public safety, improving access to essential services, and supporting the walkable, vibrant neighborhoods that help small businesses thrive in Bellevue. While the parameters that the Council aligned on in our previous session mark a significant step forward, I continue to be an advocate for extending the area around major transit stops, such as light rail stations, to half-a-mile radius. A half-mile is just a 10-minute walk, and increasing density in these zones is a practical way to foster walkability. And like the mayor called out, reduce the cost of living, especially in, the rising prices of gas and other things. And I also support its. I also suggest that it supports sustainable economic development in these regions. So where appropriate, that would have been my push and continues to be. While it's not possible to meet the needs for every stakeholder ask in this process, I do believe we have landed on a well-balanced approach. In summary, I want to say that middle housing is not just a housing policy. It's a strategy to build a more inclusive, connected, and resilient Bellevue for the future and meet the needs of very diverse groups of populations within our city. So that's where I'm at. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Newhouse.
Thank you, Mayor. No, great comments so far, and I'm going to focus a little bit on how we got here as well tonight, as we come to the end of this process here. And candidly, one that I wish we could have had a little bit more, or gotten started a little bit sooner, a little bit more outreach. This goes to my comments that I've been talking about for the 2 terms that I've been on here in terms of creating a standardized outreach playbook for the city, especially on issues like this. I don't feel that this should fall on neighborhood leaders to educate their neighborhood or their communities about very technical language. And the ironic thing for me is that it benefits us to get ahead of this, because then we won't have 300 people attending a meeting at Somerset, because hopefully we would have gotten to them before that. Now, that's to say, staff did an incredible job addressing all those questions, but and interacting with all the residents. But the more front end work that we can do, I think the easier the process gets, versus I feel like it gets so rushed at the very end, and we're hearing all these different perspectives, which are all important. And I 100% agree that the outreach has been, or the feedback, I should say, has been fantastic from residents, from developers, from my colleagues, from everybody, and we encourage that and we want that. And a lot of times this can be a bit messy, and a lot of times we end up getting to a good place overall. But for me personally, when I'm talking about housing policies, I'm looking for policies that always respect the voices of the local residents and place infrastructure before density, and that protect the character, the equity, and the dignity of our communities. And I think where we're going with this in terms of the balance overall of the LUCA that we have in front of us, I think we've achieved that. As the mayor said, there's 50% who want this, who want to go further, and 50% that want to bring it back. But it's a tough balance, because neighborhoods are not just buildings. The neighborhoods are, as many people have said, the soul of Bellevue. They're ecosystems of trust and belonging. They're where we raise our kids and support our elders. And it's a place that we call home, and we should be very, very protective of that. 1110, I've always had an issue with this. I do not like it when the state takes away local control. I especially don't like it that they're mandating kind of a uniformity without affordability. Yes, this is going to be market rate housing. Yes, it might be at a lower cost, right, than the typical $1.5 million home in Bellevue. So maybe they can get in at the $1 million level or $800,000 level, but it's not affordable. And let's be clear, as everybody on this dais, we have always encouraged more housing, more affordable housing. And many councils before us have been very thoughtful in terms of understanding where to put that density, and where to grow that housing, and where it goes and where it shouldn't go. So now to have the state tell us how to do it doesn't sit well with me. And we have to do this, obviously, but it's challenging, especially when we've always had a very good plan in terms of where we have focused on putting that designated growth. So I feel like it leaves us with not always being able to have smart growth, but rushed growth is where we end up. So having said all that, I think Planning Commission had a very difficult task ahead of them dealing with this. I thought they did a great job, many late nights, as the deputy mayor mentioned. I think staff has done a great job trying to craft as best as possible a Bellevue-specific LUCA, which was very tricky at the end of the day. but I commend your efforts, getting as close as we can, especially given that there's some disagreement on this dais in terms of some of the votes we took. And again, this dais is a reflection of what we're hearing from the community, all right? Some wanted to go further, some didn't want to quite be as aggressive and didn't want quite that amount of density in our neighborhoods. And I'm one of them. And I think, there's some real thoughtful distinctions in this as well. And we've heard multiple times about, well, maybe we should just revert to the minimum state standards or the model, Luca. But unfortunately, not all of those actually match what Bellevue wants. In fact, in some cases, it goes beyond what we want in terms of heights and other things. So it's not as clear cut as just do the bare minimum, not at all. In fact, having looked at this so closely, I think that we're coming very close in terms of what is best for Bellevue. It's not perfect at all. But I think we took some really important votes last time in terms of scaling the setbacks to match lot sizes, limit the 6-unit maximum to within a quarter mile of major transit. I think that could avoid some excessive sprawl. It upholds height limits to the 32 feet for flat, 35 feet for pitched. And I also think, even though, and I appreciate what we're hearing from developers here about the cottage housing sizing, but as the mayor rightly said, you can still go beyond that 1,500 size. I think there's something in this for everyone. It's not perfect, but I think it does have the balance that the state requirements with some Bellevue values associated with it. So it's significantly better, again, than the state, and we do not obviously want to not pass something tonight and have to go with that model ordinance. So I am going to be voting yes, because July 1st is right around the corner, and that would strip away the safeguards that we have put in place and we've worked so hard to include. So looking forward to hopefully acting together as a council here. Let's pass this, Luca, because I think it honors our neighborhoods as best as possible, or the best to our ability in terms of where we're at right now, while navigating the state law with diligence. But I will say, in terms of reporting back, and I think some of the guidance we've received from staff is in a 2 to 3 year period to come back. But I would put in there that if we see some instances that are negatively impacting neighborhoods, that could be replicated as a model to other neighborhoods, that we take action immediately on that. Because if it's happening in Bridle Trails, it could go to Lake Hills, or it could go to Crossroads, or wherever. So I would put that on staff if we could. If we see some very negative activity happening that's having a really bad impact, not only for quality of life issues, but it could be transportation, utility issues, whatever that might be, I would ask that you bring that back immediately for us to look at and hopefully be able to adjust if necessary.
Can I define that as negative unintended consequences?
100%.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, absolutely. So that's the end of my comments. Thanks again, though, I want to say, for all the hard work, and we truly mean it when we say that. I know we do a lot of thinking up here at times, but this is a big effort, and I appreciate, again, all the staff work, the Planning Commission work, all the feedback from the entire community, and the council members, my council members, my colleagues, as well as the city manager's office. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hamilton.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Of course, want to thank everyone who's been involved, all the community members, many of them here tonight that I've met with, Planning Commission, my colleagues, and Rebecca, Nick, Kirsten. You guys have done an amazing job. I agree with many of the comments that have been made already. I would just say, from my point of view, the Middle Housing Land Use Code is done. Middle housing was studied as part of the comp plan update, as earlier mentioned, part of our final environmental impact statement. concluded that our infrastructure systems like utilities, schools, police, and fire services can support a level of development well beyond what's going to be built. We've actively engaged with the community members for over 2 years. Nick touched on this earlier. We've had surveys, 6 public information sessions, an interactive story map, and a regularly updated website. So along with my colleagues, again, I know we've all had a chance to meet with many community members and with staff. I think that's all been very helpful. 2 weeks ago, we had a chance to finish our council process and provide direction to staff regarding the elements of the LUCA that we're here to finalize tonight. And while I remain fully in support of the Planning Commission recommendation, I respect the input from my colleagues and am ready to move forward with the final approval of the elements of the Middle Housing LUCA that we voted on June 10th. It's my hope that we move the package forward in its current form. If for any reason that's not possible, I think any modifications that are made must be voted on tonight. If we adopt our own code tonight, if we do not adopt our own code tonight, as Councilmember Neuenhouse said, we'll be adopting the state's model code by default, since we will not meet the June 30th state deadline. And I don't think that we can allow to happen. So I'm anxious to hear from my remaining colleagues, anxious to move forward on our middle housing LUCA tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Suma-Deweria.
Thank you. So when I was starting to learning about this, I was wondering, like one question came back to me is whether, the first I was thinking about, are we ready? And then after we talk about all the residents, it went deeper. So it become more important to me, are we ready all together? I think that is the key thing, that every stakeholder, the residents, the developers, our staff, and we have to work really closely together to, I think, solve a really dire and urgent affordability issue. So our firefighters and first responder teachers can be here near, close to us. It's really important. And like Mayor said, I think that it's hard to have everything we want in life. But when we work together, we can hear different things, and then we can find a balanced approach so we can move forward. I think it's really important. 2 of the item from the process that was really close to my heart was the 1/4 mile to the transit. Because when I was thinking about it, it's not only talking about the most vulnerable group that's financially and also physically, who is not able to walk 1/4 mile. When I'm talking about my mom, who's not doing well, sometimes there's days she can't walk that far, right? So I think that was really close to my heart. That's why I voted on that. And then and I think that is something. Another thing was the fee in lieu part, where I believe it's hard to have a mandatory requirement for somebody to pay to build something in the community where they're investing as stakeholders working together with the neighborhoods. But I think it's always nice to have an incentive to reinforce when we want to have commitment to build something together. And it's also a great incentive for our neighborhood wanting to engage in the whole process so we can build something closely nicer to what we really dearly care about together. But with that said, I am really looking forward to, I think I'm really appreciative of the staff being really attentive to my questions, especially about engagement. I'm looking forward to having the added capacity to go deeper and wider engagement with the community. And then, like our fellow Councilman Neuenhouse said, it is really important for us having a process together and then learning this process together for better Bellevue, because we can't do this alone, and this dais is so important to hear your voices, and also from the builders who are investing their time and the investment into the community, because overall we just want our Bellevue to be more affordable to the people we can take care of us. That is the biggest thing. Again, I'm really in awe how we just come together because we do care, and I love all the voices in the room that you come forward. Even sometimes could be scary to say the things you really want to say. This is applied to every group. And then I would encourage us through this building process, please come to us and with your honest, most brutal suggestions, because it's important. Please, it's always welcome. Thank you.
And Councilmember Lee.
Well, I leave the best for the last. Thank you. This is a major task, and it took a number of years and affect everybody, because we all live here, and we all want to look at our future, what our city is going to be like. How are we going to live here? How are the future people going to live here? We want to be doing all the good things that everybody agrees to. We need to have people, stakeholders, who can actually make this happen. Number one, we need to have builders that can build. If they don't build, we have no home. Okay, for them to build, they need to have reasonable return. They have to have the ability to build. So we need to make that as a very important consideration. And for people who live here, we definitely want to be sure that it's compatible to what we have had for the last 50 years or more. And and we have our needs changing as well. You know, people change, our needs change, our ability change. And so we need to make sure that we have options that we can have to stay here. So it's important. And so the question is, how do we make that possible? And we did this. You know, I really appreciate the staff. You have a tremendous, challenging work to do. You reach out, and what do you show them? You think that the developers can do certain things, but how do you show the public that what they look like? Because every situation, every neighborhood, every housing style is different. You don't know what you don't know unless you see it, unless you understand it. But instead, we don't have that luxury. We got a bunch of things. Just, we call them different names. We call them cottage. And now people are saying, well, cottage is no different than just a small home, small house. For most people, I want to make one thing. That's why it's very difficult, very challenging. So when talking about, do I want this? Do I like this? Do I accept this? We don't have a complete picture. It's just what is in our imagination, what I think it is, what I think it is not. But that's nothing to show me, okay? As a result, I think I suggested to the staff that when we talk about something, let's show a simulation of it. We did the best we can. I mean, we have a simulation of one thing, but it's on paper. It's two-dimensional. You know? So we're talking about this issue. We continue to beat up on this topic. I believe, however, this is the result of what we want. It's not what really we want. The result is we will have a whole bunch of homes. Basically, it's a roof about our head, and it's a bed in our house where I can go home, I can sleep either in my own bedroom or maybe in some cases sharing my bedroom with my wife. Or if my wife get angry with me, maybe I go to the doghouse. If I have a special extra room, I stay in this extra room or study room, wherever. And when I have visitors, we share the same space. It's fine, it's okay. But we know what we have. It's the feeling of people, human beings. We're talking about human beings. That's why we're responding, we're reacting that way. You tell me, well, this is a 5,000 square feet home. What do you think? I have no clue. I need to know what's in it. What's the neighborhood like? Who are the people who live around me? Is my family going to feel comfortable? My kids want to come here. If they don't want to come here, if I have a 10,000 square foot home, it doesn't do any good. It's empty. I'm the only guy living there. I'll be very lonely. So that's important, is how do we feel? So I really appreciate, I saw an email from Mr. Hayes, Tim Hayes. He said, it's people. It's what we have in our neighborhood. It's our surrounding. What makes us feel that this is home? I think that's what I said before. Home is where we belong. It's not the house. House is something somebody built it for me that I can afford it, that I want to get it. Okay, if I want more, I work hard to get it. If I want less, I said, that's okay. I'll move to Spokane. Okay? But the point is, we are fighting, we're talking about a different object that we really need to pay attention to. The attention to pay is what we, individuals, neighborhoods, in community, what we think is best for us and for our children, for our future. So I like, we're all different, so we have different ideas. So I support the idea of having options. But options has to be relevant to what we are talking about, right? If we just talk about a cover, a bed, doesn't matter. But we're not, we're talking about a neighborhood. Just fix it. So second, we want to have a house that's low cost enough so that if we want it, I can get it, right? That makes sense. So we're looking at how we build a lower cost. And I believe that we have lots of smart, practical, ingenious developers and builders. That's amazing. They can do a lot of stuff. But they have a limitation also, right? Absolutely. So that's why they're looking for density. They're looking for build a smaller home. That's fine, But there has to be a supply and demand. But that's, again, people. It's not the house. It's people. Okay? So if they build something people want, they'll sell. So I feel that we all have different ideas. We have different experience. I don't know. That's not my expertise. In fact, politicians don't have any expertise, period. So I don't know how to build a house. We have to talk to the neighbors, and that's how we get our input. So I decided that for me to understand, for us to get the product everybody can support, okay, that's doable. We need to have the developers, builders, stakeholders meet with the community folks and talk about what are we talking about. What are the differences? What are the similarities? How can we work on the things that we agree to? And how can we talk about the differences? Maybe we can understand what changes can be made, what compromise can be made. We still can make progress. We still can provide options. But the key point is low cost, lower cost, not to give higher cost. So I tried to do that. And I think I was very fortunate, was very lucky that have made some contacts, connection with the builders. They're very good, excellent. They already been doing this. They know how to do this. Okay, so I listened to them. So I talked to some residents. We're very fortunate. We have some residents really study, really dug deep in it. I want to mention Ms. Myers. And she knows a lot of the thing. Data, we're talking about data. We're talking about information. She's got pictures. She's got numbers. She shares with developers, builders, and developers can then talk. So some may not be real, some may not be possible, but at least we have connection. We know what we're looking for. If we don't know what to do, okay, it's fair enough. We cannot get everything we understand. We cannot. But if our goal is to create lower cost living, provide options for people that want to live in Bellevue, we can figure out how to do it. But the way to do it, the key is what's the process to getting there. I use the example. If we want to swim across the lake to where the paradise is, okay, let's all swim over there. We don't want to jump into the water. Everybody starts swimming. You know what happens if we do that? Half the people will get drowned because I don't know how to swim. If I jump into it, I'll probably be drowned. So I need to go step by step. I need to test the water, try it, see how I feel. I can swim, start swimming, crawling. And that's what we need to do with things that we're talking about. We admit ourselves, we really don't know. Because Bellevue hasn't done that. We don't know what that looks like. The neighbors don't know that. They don't know how would they feel when we put in our neighborhood. So let's try it steady, slow, a bit at a time. I think Councilmember Shaw, kind of agrees with general precept. And I hope that, Deputy Mayor is very careful, cautious, very result-oriented person. He's not going to jump into the deep end and drown if he doesn't know how to swim, right? You want to check it first. Check the temperature. Is it cold or warm? And if it works, let's do. And if it works well, let's do more. But if it doesn't, let's stop. I don't want us to make a code. Say, hey, this is the way we want it, and never been tested, never know, or it's been tested in Kirkland. It's not Bellevue. It's been tested in Spokane. It's not Bellevue. But let's test it. If it's good, I respect our residents in Bellevue. We're all intelligent, educated, we're thoughtful, we're engaged, we're willing to take the time. So, Ms. Myers, it's sort of an exception, but most others are just as thoughtful, just as concerned. But we have that kind of talent. With the city staff helping them, city staff understanding perspective, we'll come up with the best product there is. And we can be like Councilmember Nguyen has mentioned, we can be the leader, we can be the model for others. So I really support. The state mandate is not good. I don't like mandate. Those guys don't know us. They think it's go to studies, right? Have they not? They talk to our voters. They haven't even talked to us. How do they know? So I don't like that. So I really appreciate the staff. You guys at least look at Bellevue's situation. What may work best for Bellevue? What can actually work for Bellevue? That's good. Okay, but I want to make sure we don't jump into the deep end and can't get back. I want to be sure that we do it, try it, works, let's go do it. If it doesn't, we don't build a whole bunch of 100 buildings, whatever that may be. The builder thinks, oh, we got the permission, we got the code, let's do it. And if it's built and nobody lives in there, what happens? Well, if people don't like it, what happens? They move out. So no reason to take that kind of risk, because it's very important thing for the city and for our people that want to live in Bellevue. For other people that want to come to live in Bellevue, for many reasons. Our children, our friends, people who want to do business here, it's important. The builders, when they build it, they are proud. They want to live in Bellevue. They want to build in Bellevue. They want to see Bellevue succeed. Those people just want to build and then sell it, take a profit, and run. I don't see much. That doesn't bother me. I mean, I know so, but it's the people that we really care, people who really care about us, that we want to work with. That's the bottom line. So, I like to say that we will adopt the Bellevue Code, right? Because I also want to compliment Planning Commissioner, because Planning Commissioner's achievement also took this same route of seeing what does it fit for Bellevue, right? I'm not a pagan, I don't know that. So with your help, with the staff, you'll work toward that. But I just want to be sure your vision, your process is compatible, meets what I'm talking about. It's people, not the home, not the house, people. The home and the house fits the people that live here, that want to live here, that want to come here to live. That's the key. And they can afford it because we have options. Because one thing I would say, and I'm done with this. So I'm happy to see that we can have a code, because we have to have one, right? Otherwise, the state's going to say, you're going to do our thing. We don't want to do that. So I don't mind proving it, as we have to talk about. Then there's no reason to change, as long as we understand and willing to take this approach. I think it's a good approach. Okay? Then we'll say, all right? We'll see, she's nodding here. One thing that we can also do, which I think the city has the responsibility, we can also help to reduce the cost of building, which is permitting process. Right now, I understand from the developer, it takes 3 years to get permit. From the beginning, acquiring the land, looking at it, start the work, until it's finished. 3 years is a long time. If you want to commit to millions of dollars, You know how much does it cost to carry the millions of dollars? The interest. The longer it is, the longer the money is tied up with no coming. And the risk is that after a long time, you may not even get the project done. You cannot do that. So we would love to see that the permitting time, the process is much more efficient, and the time is a lot shorter. If we can cut down to 2 years, 1 year, amazing. You could save so much money. We're not talking about $150,000 fee in lieu. We're talking about millions of dollars. So I would suggest, I would hope, that part of our decision we're making, how can we reduce costs everywhere, every place, including the city. And there's technology now that understand, if AI can build homes with material, fabrication, shipping, everything, they can reduce costs. That's what we're looking at. So rather than arguing and say, what are you giving us? What am I getting? We say, we're cutting costs. Who's going to object to cutting costs? Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, so there's a few things I heard repeated by our council that are directions for staff. Standardized outreach playbook, I like that one. I think we all alluded to that in different ways. Review of the work that we're doing in a timely way, and then being responsive. If we see something happening earlier that we did not intend, negative unintended consequence, then that we be responsive to it. Okay, so we have 2 ordinances here. One is to pass the implementing 1110 and 1337 as modified by us. And then the second one is just truing up our city code to complement what we're voting in. So we have 2 motions. We'll take one at a time.
I move to adopt ordinance 6851 relating to middle housing and accessory dwelling units, implementing HB 1110 and HB 1337 from the 2023 legislative session, providing for the development of middle housing densities in residential land use districts, providing for the development of accessory dwelling units, amending chapters of the Land Use Code, amending Section 90 of Ordinance Number 6839, authorizing amendment of the city's land use district map, providing for severability, and setting an effective date.
Have 2 seconds? Another second? Just say it again. For the 2 ordinances. There's like 2.
Second.
All right, just in case. All right.
Can you explain, clarify? a bit?
Okay, so we
Exactly what we are
brought
voting
forward 2 ordinances. One is to vote in our addition of House Bill 1110 and House Bill 1337, which is the ADUs. The second ordinance is to true up our city codes to then allow what we just
I haven't read the
decided
second
on.
one yet.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you did.
I was confused. We
Okay, I'm
haven't-
confused. I'm sorry.
We're doing one of them at a time.
Well, I was hoping we would.
Oh,
So we are. Okay, fine. So your second is, so this is the first one is just House Bill 1110 and House Bill 1337.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Does that include all the things we voted on last meeting?
that's exactly right. Unchanged.
No change?
No change.
From the last.
That's correct. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, go ahead, read the second one.
I move to adopt ordinance 6852 relating to middle housing and accessory dwelling units, amending chapters of the Bellevue City Code, amending the effective date for section 77 through 82 and 84 through 108 of ordinance number 6839, providing for severability and setting an effective date.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes as well. We do not have council meetings on July 1st or July 8th, so we will be back together on July 15th. Thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned.